Oh, also on the cover you have this really small photograph in this weird border with Frank Sinatra and apparently the gang. And I'll get to that photograph later because there's another version of it on the liner, the sleeves. But underneath it says Old Blue Eyes. Oh, it's spelled O-L-E. Ole Blue Eyes. I don't think he ever... Ole Blue Eyes? It's Old Blue Eyes, right? Just, So, there's the front cover. Now we go. Now you think that's a disaster. Wait till you get to the back cover. There you go. And on the back cover, it now becomes, not only does it become Allie and his gang versus Mr. Tooth Decay, becomes the fight of the century. It's almost like this was going to be the album cover, and something happened and they did this. So, and his full name's on this, where it's not on this. It's just Ali. Of course, everybody knows who he is, but on the back it's Muhammad, right? Muhammad, and then this weird space, and then Ali fights Mr. Tooth Decay. Like they had Ali fights Mr. Tooth Decay typeset, but somebody said, "Well, you got to put Muhammad's full name on the LP somewhere. We just won't fund this, right?" So they move it down and they stick that in there. And they just stuck it in there. And a beautiful children's story. So you have a scary Muhammad on the front, and on the back you have this like girly collared thing with Fight of the Century and Fight Mr. Tooth Decay, and it's a beautiful children's story. There's a contrast there. I'm not certain that it works. And then you have this acid trip piece of art underneath it that was done by a professional artist. I don't know where they found them in high school. Children's book greeting card artist who had to come up with this fairy tale vegetable garden and then stick real like faces of these people, like the gang and other people that are, Sinatra's in there somewhere. There he is. Sinatra's in there holding up a giant peach. And there's Allie in clown pants and the fantasy vegetable garden. And I couldn't figure out what the deal was. Why? I thought, well, there's a thing in there about eating vegetables. This weird thing on the inside, on the record, about eating vegetables. It's like oddly misplaced. I couldn't understand why that was on there. I just much of it I just figured was just to fill the record, because it's just, it's all over the place. It's a story. You can't even follow the story. So let's go to the inside. At the inside, I'm going to turn this off and turn it on so the video stays. Horribly designed mess. The Fight of the Century. And there's a whole lot of information in here that's good, though. Arthur Morrison's photographs in here. So originally when I started to set out to do my drawings, I thought, well, it was some kind of, they hired some kind of inside scar chomping kind of corporate sort of guy to put this together, and he takes advantage of them. But I don't know about that. When I got to looking at Arthur's photograph and his daughter, Sunshine America Morrison, isn't that a great name? I like that name. His daughter's in here. I'm thinking, well, how did this all happen? And maybe this was a fairly nice guy, but he had to be some kind of like whacked out person, a salesman of some sort. Somebody had to be a salesman. I can't figure out the deal of how he got all these people together. That's the mystery. What kind of person got all these people together and created this horrible mess? That's the real mystery that I'm making up. So a key to it here is special thanks to Herbert Muhammad for allowing me this opportunity. Now, who was Herbert Muhammad? Was he the money person? Or was he the person that knew somebody like Ali? I don't know. And who did they hook up with first? The American Dental Association? Is that where the money came from? Well, I'm not exactly sure, and I'll go into that later on. Well, on this side, he thanks Karen Peterson for sharing my many dreams. Dreams with a capital D. What that means, I don't know. I thought I was finished with all this and figured come up with some kind of story. And here's a photograph, here's a drawing of this toothbrush with a boxing glove on the end. I wonder if they actually had that produced. I should check into that. I have no idea. But it's the worst drawing of Muhammad Ali, even worse than mine. On the inside of this, it's not him. I don't know who it is, but it's not him. So I thought I was finished, and I turn it over, and here's Ole Blue Eyes, O-L-E Blue Eyes, with the gang blown up enough so I can actually see it, and they're all wearing T-shirts with the horribly drawn, I think, as best as I could tell, Muhammad Ali with the horribly drawn Mr. Tooth Decay on the T-shirt. So they had T-shirts produced. And is this the best photograph they could come up with? It's really pretty awful photograph. But there's a credit, live photograph by live. What does that mean? I have no idea. All photographs are taken live in one respect or another, aren't they? Victor Pope and Sonia Kachian. They had two photographers do this photograph, this disaster, New York City. I'm assuming Frank was in New York City. Now, when you listen to this, there are no tracks on this LP. It's side 1 and side 2. It's all a story all the way through, and I'll play snippets of it from you. But the audio quality's all over the place. It's pretty horrible. And Frank's Oly Blue Eyes is the worst. I assume that was recorded. There are 4 studios, so this was done in 4 studios. Dick Lavsky's, I'm assuming I pronounced that right, Music House in New York City. Quad Tech in California, Las Vegas Recording Studio, and Astra Sound Studio in Pottsville, Pennsylvania. Midnight Modulation in New York. See, that's even in a different typeface. See, they added stuff. After they had this typeset, they added stuff because the typefaces don't match, and there's like additions where it's just been stuck in there, like music arrangers. Stan Pihota and Michael Bitterman. Well, Michael Bitterman's name's a little bit bigger. And songs written by, Arthur gives himself credit for writing the songs. And twice, song written by Arthur Bernard Morrison, Allie's historical theme song.
Who knocked the crack in the Liberty Bell? Ali. Who really gave that bell a smack? Ali. Who punched it so hard that the bell did crack? Hit it so hard with an awful whack.
Historical, yes, indeed. But okay, to go on, I found out there was actually an artist that they hired, Ellen Fox. So I got a woman in my thing. And I didn't find that out until I drew my book. Art direction, Ellen Fox. So she's responsible for a lot of the problems, I think. And then there's a graphics person. That was probably just the typesetter. In 1976, I'm assuming just the typesetter. The production person, probably. I have no idea. But this is such a mess that anybody could have had been the heavy hand that created this mess. It could have been Arthur. It could have been everybody. It's probably designed by committee. Now I'm trying to figure out where the money came from. Because when I illustrate my book, my art book, in my head I'm trying to figure out who got the money together and who finagled the whole thing. So go into that story of who did what to get the money, who knew who. And when I get down to the bottom of this, it says all rights reserved by St. John's Fruits and Vegetable Production, Beverly Hills, California. Well, see, from the get-go, I thought this was like a deal for the American Dental Association. Arthur Morrison went to them and said, I had this idea. I know some people like Allie, and we would like to do a children's record, with your backing. Well, all rights reserved. The Dental Association doesn't have the rights. It's some fruit production place, which would account for why on the back cover there's this acid trip fantasy farm, and why in the audio on the inside they go on and on about eating vegetables. Sure, vegetables are good for you, but really, what did it have to do with the teeth thing? The tooth decay thing. It was just too weird. So now, I'm thinking the money came from this fruits and vegetables place, and not the American Dental Association. So who went to the fruits and vegetables, and how did they get hooked up with them? I think the money came from them. And so did they have the money, and then they went to the AMDA? How did they get the ADA's stamp of approval on this? And so who did they go first? Did they have Muhammad Ali? Did they know him and took his name to these people to get the money and get the okay to use it? And then on top of it all off, I'm looking at this. It is dedicated to Mary C. Stranahan for believing in the dream of a dreamer. Like it must be Arthur Morrison's dream. That's what I'm assuming. And to Lily Tomlin, sweet Lily, the greatest comedian in the whole world. Nowhere on this album does she have any input except for on the back. Thank you. For why? What? A name dropping?